Hello. My spoiler stream. I'm going to be doing HB cards. I'm super excited to do this. And I'm looking at catching up on a little bit of some chat that I've missed. Looks like it hasn't shown up on my screen. Um, don't think I've caught Sokka live. Yeah, lots of hype. Okay, so yeah, how's it going, everybody? Hope everybody's doing well. I wanted to do the stream a little earlier just so that people in Europe can catch me live. I don't expect to go for too long, but without further ado, let's jump in. I'm not going to be starting off by revealing my cards just yet. I'm going to look at the HB article, which was released earlier this morning. I have not seen these cards. I know that there were two cards that were spoiled. Um, oh, did I say UK? Yeah. Sorry, I meant all of Europe. Yeah, all of Europe. Yeah, so I'm going to start off by looking at this article and see what I've missed. I'm not going to read through all this. I'm just going to look at the two cards that were spoiled and just do a little live reaction on what it was, what the cards are. Yeah, my stream title is meant to be a little Easter egg as to what's going on. So I'm just going to scroll right down to the bottom here. And let's see, I think we have two cards. Are they both here? Oh, they are both here. Okay, so we've got the ID. I see Thule Subsea, safety below, 4515 HB identity. Whenever the runner steals an agenda, do 1 core damage unless they spend a click and pay 2 credits. Okay. That seems decent. That seems decent, just on its own. Just evaluating this card on its own, given the current card pool and what I know of the game. It only triggers when the runner steals an agenda, so nothing happens when you score. So PD is the opposite. You do a core damage unless they spend a click and 2 credits, which means that if they steal an agenda on their last click, they can't spend a click and 2 credits, so they have to take a core damage. It stacks with Ikawa Project. It stacks with other things that make the runner lose clicks, and it can potentially stack with core damage. Yeah, so this ID seems quite good for what we seem to be pushing, and I quite enjoy that. I feel like the core damage thing was something that I felt really wanted to be explored more, and I think we are seeing a bit more of that, and you're all going to see a bit more of that today. So we're going to keep this in mind. We're going to move on to the next card. This one I have not seen at all. The ID I kind of like got glimpses of, but yeah. Anyways, Nightmare Archive, Ambush. While the runner is accessing asset in R&D, they must reveal it. When the runner accesses this asset, they may add it to their score areas in agenda worth -1. If they do not, do 1 core damage and remove this asset from the game. Ooh, okay. So we've added an HB trap. HB doesn't have a good trap. So we have stuff like Tempest, and I think that's it. But like NBN has increased drop rates, which is like Tempest. So NBN has Ganked, which is like the good one, and then increased drop rates, which is the not good one. And I guess HB has the not good one in Tempest. But now it also has Nightmare Archive. Interesting to note that Tempest does somewhat synergize with everything that's going on here, because we're losing 2 clicks or we're suffering a core damage. So it's in this theme of losing clicks, suffering core damage. The issue is Tempest runs a trace, so it'll be interesting to see if this card gets played, and I'm sure I'll talk about this a bit later. But I really like this. Having a trap that says you lose a point or you take a core damage. I really like that it gets removed from the game, so we can't just have this in archives. Whereas news teams, we can just keep in archives because we just like keep piling tags onto the runner if they keep running archives and not taking the minus point. But taking a core damage every time you run archives seems pretty punishing. So I like that it removes from the game. You play 3 copies of this, and they have to lose a point or take a core damage. This is going to be tough. Runners are going to have to start losing some points because they can't take that much core damage. Purple Argus, yeah, true. Purple Argus is very true. It's really interesting because Argus synergizes with the whole econ hard hitting and like high profile target thing at the time, and that whole package fits well with Argus's ID. But in this case, like Thule doesn't have, it's not as clear. Because in Argus, it's really clear. Like you take tags, we can deal more meat damage. But in Thule's case, it's not like if you lose clicks, I can deal more core damage. There isn't a card that just directly turns clicks into core damage the same way high profile target turns tags into meat damage. But we're definitely trying to push it. It's not going to be the same, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be worse because core damage is permanent. Sick data dealer tech. That's true. That's true. Much less obnoxious than news team. Is there anything that sacks agendas on runner side right now? I think data dealers. Is data dealer not legal? I don't know. I don't know what's legal. I'm sorry. Data dealer. It's not legal. So I guess there isn't. Liberated Chela? Liberated Chela legal? Liberated... Oh. This is not legal, right? Yeah. Mambad. Not legal. So, yeah, no, it's gonna be pretty cool seeing how all these cards work together. Let's talk more after I reveal my cards, because there's a lot to talk about, and I feel like it'll be much better with some more information in everyone's minds. So, for those who caught my stream title is the last section of Kuinda. I'm not quite sure what that's actually supposed to say. Is it Kahlue? Is that what the letters are supposed to be? Anyways, I doubt like a lot of people know about this part, which is why I included it as a little Easter egg. But yeah, we're gonna be dealing some core damage, and that's the theme of what we're doing today. So, first card. Here we go. The first card I have is Jupstad Grid. It is a 4 res, 4 trash, 4 influence upgrade in HB. It's a region, and it says whenever you score an agenda from the root of the server, do 1 core damage. This is a very simple start. Score an agenda, deal a core damage. So the thing is, this card pushes a remote style play. So we're not like playing shell game in like the traditional sense of, okay, I'm just going to install snares and install like a bunch of remotes. This card to me pushes a single remote, and it pushes 1 scoring remote. It's kind of like, I don't know, like Malapert, I guess. But the thing is, like, Malapert costs 1, so Malapert is like low investment. This costs 4. And I actually really, really like the balance of this card, because 4 res means that you can't just throw these out there and just maybe I'll res Jupstad Grid once and deal 1 core damage. If you're resing Jupstad Grid for 4 and it's going to only trigger once to deal 1 core damage, it's probably not worth it. So we're really pushing like 1 remote. We're going to score agendas out of this remote, and every time we do score an agenda out of this remote, we're going to deal a core damage, and there's nothing the runner can do about it unless they have something that prevents core damage. You can't have a Rella. That's true. We can just windmill core damage with this card. I will say that there is Caldera to keep in mind. Although, when does Caldera rotate? Not yet, hey? Yeah, not yet. But yeah, there is Caldera in mind. And like, this card kind of just beats core damage, because 3 credits to prevent a core damage, and like, core damage is a highly impactful thing, and the fact that we just slapped core damage onto Caldera probably hurts this archetype quite a bit. So yeah, I'm gonna keep that one in mind. As a Norwegian, Jupstad Grid is a chef's kiss of a name. Oh, I'd love to hear about why. Yeah, Grim, please elaborate. I'd love to know more about what Jupstad Grid means and what the background of that is. Okay, let's move on to the next card. Staying along the same sense of, we're going to have 1 remote, and we're going to score agendas out of this remote, and we're going to deal core damage out of this remote. This one helps us score agendas. Mr. Hendrick helps us defend agendas. Mr. Hendrick is a 0 res, 2 trash, 3 influence upgrade. It is an ambush and a Psysop, and it says, when the runner accesses this upgrade while it is installed, you may pay 2 credits to do 1 core damage. If the runner has any clicks remaining, they may lose all their clicks to prevent this damage. So it's a Prysac. It doesn't deal a meet and give a tag, but it gives a core, but the core can be prevented if the runner has any clicks remaining and they choose to lose all of their remaining clicks. Feels like this should be unique. That's a good catch. That's a good catch. Yeah, so this card is not unique. You can just slam a bunch of these in your remote, which means if they do lose all their clicks on the first trigger, they can't lose all their clicks again on the other 2 triggers because they can't gain any clicks. Giving Ryan Knight a run for his money. That's exactly right. Oh, Laurie says, read the flavor text. Few employees know he exists. Even fewer know he's actually 3. Oh, that's very good. Very good. So there's just 3. 3 exist. So this is a great stack with the ID and with other things that make the runner lose clicks. So we're looking at, again, the ID. When they steal an agenda, do a core unless they spend a click and lose 2 credits. Or pay 2 credits, sorry. There's also MC Austerity Policy, and we already mentioned Tempest. So things that lose clicks or suffer core damage. This adds to that, and we're starting to get to that, starting to creep up to that critical mass of core damage cards. And I really think we're actually there, and I've only revealed 2 of my cards. I do have, I guess I didn't say this at the start, I do have 5 cards for everybody today. I do have 5 cards, and we're only 2 down, and I really feel like right now, there's already enough core damage support to make this into a good archetype. I'm going to go back just for 1 second. I wanted to highlight that Jupeside Grid as an on-score ability dealing in core damage. Kill Switch was a card that I really wanted to make work, and I really liked. Whenever an agenda is scored or stolen, whenever the runner accesses an agenda, Kill Switch triggers, and you do a Trace 3 successful, you do a core damage. And I really wanted to make this work, and I played decks where I took Kill Switch and I ported it into Soul, to New Angeli's Soul, and I just tried to deal core damage and keep Kill Switch on the board because dealing core damage was so impactful. But at the time, there just wasn't a critical mass of core damage cards. So I just wanted to throw that in there. It's similar to Jupeside Grid. Takes out the Trace, as we all know, is something that NSG wants to do moving forward. Came for 1 card, pleasantly surprised for 5. Yeah. There's a lot to come. Okay, so that's the first 2. And again, I really think we've hit that point. There's lots of core damage stuff. So let's see what the next card is. This is my thumbnail. First of all, this is great art. Oh my goodness, look at this. This is such good art. I want this on a playmat. This is such a good playmat. But anyways, it is called Distributed Tracing. It is a 3-cost HB operation for influence. It is a double, is Gray Ops, and it says, as an additional cost to play this operation, spend a click. Play only if the runner stole an agenda during their last turn, and the ability is give the runner a tag. And the flavor text is sometimes they want you to know that they know. I just can't get over how good the art is. I feel like I'm having trouble explaining what this card does just because the art looks so good. So, yeah, okay, so Solomir says HB tagging. So I was very confused too. When I first looked at this card, I was like, okay, it costs you 2 clicks. You can only play it when the runner stole an agenda during their last turn. But why are we giving the runner a tag? Purple Rig Shooter with Retribution is a thing. It seems odd, hey? It seems very odd. It costs you 2 whole clicks and 3 credits. And what can we do with a tag in HB? And honestly, it's 1 tag. It's not like something like Scorched Earth or exchange of information. That's not standard legal. You could play that in Eternal. But Yeah, there's nothing that I can think of that HB like really cares about tag. I guess we're using this as like tech to take out Caldera. Yeah. There we go. There we go. That's no mun. Says trash Caldera. LOL. We can use it to trash Caldera. So yeah. So that's like what I think this card will do the most is you play it and then you trash Caldera, which is very impactful because if you play this card and people play Caldera, you're gonna like they're not gonna play that many copies of Caldera. So we're gonna have exactly anti-Caldera HB tech, but art is fantastic. It is really hard for me to talk about this without talking about the next card. So let's leave it at it is here to trash Calderas. It's 4 influence, you don't really port it. Maybe you can port single tag punishment in Eternal, but it's here to trash Calderas, and it's here to help you play Hypoxia. Hypoxia is a 1-cost HB operation, 3 influence, that says play only if the runner is tagged, do 1 core damage, the runner gets -1 allotted click for their next turn, remove this operation from the game. HB tag punishment. There we go, yeah. It's O2 shortage. Yeah, so here's the tag punishment. And it honestly, I think if you were to play a core damage deck and you were to play, I think if Caldera didn't exist, Distributed Tracing and Hypoxia as a combo, to me feels like it's a little bit too high of a deck cost. So, because you have to play Hypoxia, you have to play Distributed Tracing, you have to have the 2 cards together at the same time, you need to spend your whole turn, and like the cards by themselves are dead cards. So if it weren't for the existence of like, oh, you can also trash Caldera, I don't know if I would play this. But being able to trash Caldera is absolutely huge, and I think that pushes it over the top and makes it playable, makes this combo playable. Matrix quote 2. Yeah, you think that's air you're breathing now. I do want to pull up. Let's pull up what O2 shortage is, because I feel like this is a very interesting thing to bring up. Shortage? There we go. O2 shortage is like kind of a biotic, except the runner can trash a card from their grip at random, and if they do not, you gain 2 clicks. This is like maybe playable, but it's not. It's not. But if you imagine a world where the runner has 5 core damage, or they have 0 hand size due to a number of core damage, depending on hand size modifiers, they can't trash a card from their grip at random, and if they don't, you gain 2 clicks. So maybe you can spend one less for a biotic if they have no cards in hand. Yeah, it seems bad, but it's a funny thing to bring up. The fact that this card is printed is like kind of funny in itself. One of the worst cards ever printed. Yeah. You get Hypoxia for an O2 shortage. Mm-hmm. I feel for O2 shortage, you need to be able to fast advance out or 3-2, a 3-2, or want the damage. Having tried this card is often card 51 or 52. I did wanted to find. I wanted to point out something funny that Kikai pointed out in Discord, I think earlier today, is that O2 shortage is a better biotic if you're using it to score a Blood in the Water. So if for some reason you're porting biotic into Jinteki and you're only using it to score Blood in the Water, then you should port O2 shortage. After seeing your cards, I now understand the Thule ID. Yeah, hey? There's a lot of stuff that's just getting into this. Lose clicks or take core damage. And you only have 4 clicks on your turn. So you can't keep losing clicks. Once you're out of clicks to lose, you have to start taking core damage. And once you've taken too much core damage, you're gonna lose the game just on hand size. But you still need some kind of damage finisher. Tags doing things that aren't just kill is also different. It still doesn't net you positive clicks for what it's worth. Yeah. The extra losing a click for their next turn is like a little bonus. I feel like you're playing this card. Losing a click on their next turn is impactful because like you're gonna probably try to score. But the issue is if you're spending 2 clicks playing distributed tracing and your third click is playing hypoxia, the runner probably, like, you don't have any other clicks left to jam an agenda. So you're probably not taking advantage of the fact that the runner has 1 less click, and it's kind of just an annoyance on the runner's turn, and you're mainly playing this for the core damage. So, one more card. The grand finale. And this just makes sense, and we've already seen something like this in another faction. So here it is, last card. And we have Ontological Dependence. It's a 4/2 HB agenda. It's research type, and this card says this agenda gets -1 advancement requirement for each core damage the runner has taken this game. Yeah, we've got blood in the O2. Very good. -1 advancement requirement for each core damage runner taken in this game. So, couple things. This one doesn't cap. So the one that's based off of Bad Publicity and Wayland, that one caps at 4, right? You can only take up to 4 Bad Publicity, and it becomes a 2/2. This, just like Blood in the Water, can become a 0/2. If the runner has taken 4 core damage, then this becomes a 0/2 agenda. You install it, you score it. And when you score it, you get a trigger off Juvestad Grid. Yeah, so it's very, very good. It makes a lot of sense that something like this exists based off of the other agendas that we have seen. Keep in mind that it is core damage that they've taken, so their hand size can go up if they play like Obelisk or if they play Marrow. Their hand size can go up, but it's based off of how much core damage they have, not based off of how much hand size they have. The other very interesting side thing that I noticed is that this card says each core damage the runner has taken this game, which suggests to us that Nil Signal will not be printing any game or any cards that remove core damage, because otherwise this would be a nightmare to track, right? Because otherwise you would write something like for each core damage the runner currently has, but instead it says each core damage the runner has taken this game. So we've kind of like limited our design space a little bit by basically saying we're never going to print a card that removes core damage. Yeah. So that's just an interesting little thing I noticed on the wording of the card. Okay, so now that I've revealed all 5 cards, I'm going to talk a little bit about what I think this means for the game, and based off of what I've seen. So I think a couple people have already mentioned that Essa is people seem to be, Essa seems hurt. But also keep in mind, every time Essa takes a core damage, you have to sabotage 2. So I don't know, like that feels like an interesting matchup, and I don't feel like Essa's down because Essa plays Marrow. Essa plays, I think Essa only plays Marrow, but maybe Essa will start playing more hand size cards. And if Essa has enough hand size increasing cards and we take a bunch of core damage and we get sabotages, I feel like that's a really interesting race, because it's like, can Essa win the game before hand size goes below 0? But until the hand size goes below 0, Essa's sabotaging a lot, and that could hurt the corp quite a bit, and it could potentially lead to a quick win for the runner. So that's a very interesting thing to note. Yeah, I think that's all. Those are my 5 cards. I didn't prepare a page that displays all of them, but if somebody missed one, I can go through them again. But otherwise, that's pretty much all. I'm not going to be doing much else for this stream. I'm just here to reveal some cards. I hope everybody got to see all of them, and if you didn't, it's going to be on a VOD posted on YouTube and also on my Twitch for a limited time as well. HP has 9 cards in the set. We are only missing 2 now. Oh, that's good to note. So there's still 2 cards that we don't know. Can you explain ontology to us for the next hour? Okay. What does the World Champ recommend regarding decks with these cards? So this seems really cool and really fun to explore. I don't know what like the power level of this, but it seems like there is that critical mass of core damage cards that this is very much at least something that you would explore and is potentially playable. Again, I don't know right off the bat if it is or not, but as I said, like I think Jupstad Grid and Mr. Hendrick together is already enough. And then we also got Distributed Tracing Hypoxia. This covers a little bit of the holes. So Distributed Tracing can trash Caldera. Hypoxia is just a good card because we're playing Distributed Tracing. So it kind of synergizes with the tag situation. If they have Caldera, we'll trash Caldera. If they don't have Caldera, we'll play Hypoxia. And then Ontological Dependence is just a good agenda for this archetype. Honestly, Ontological Dependence, like you don't even need to get this to 0, right? It's a 4-2. Once they have 1 core damage, it's a 3-2. A 3-2 is just a fine agenda. And then once they take a second core damage, it's now a 2-2, and now we can start fast advancing it and hitting them with Jupeside Grid. Like, this seems quite good just on its face. Because we can score the 2-pointer as a 2-2. We already have Bifurcation, so we can already fast advance an agenda in the form of Bifurcation on Jupeside Grid. So core damage seems somewhat easy to do now. It's still a high cost. We still have to pay 4 to res this. And we pay 4 to res. Maybe the runner can get in, pay 4 to trash. But if we have this resed, like score 1, score 2 agendas, Dr. Hendrick maybe triggers, and then maybe our ID triggers to deal another core damage. That's already 4 core damage. And we like Hypoxia another core damage. And now the runner has no hand size. And I don't know if everybody remembers what it's like to play with no hand size, but it is awful. Unless you've built your deck around it. Because like I played low hand size Nat a while ago, which is probably an unplayable deck once all these cards are released. But in that deck was built to play with low hand size. But if your deck is not built for play with low hand size, and you're playing Criminal, and you're drawing cards like Diversion and Boomerang and Falsified, and Miss Bones, and all these are cards that are good, but they are only good in certain situations. And you only have 0 hand size or 1 hand size, you're gonna have to trash a lot of these cards, or you're gonna basically be forced to play them in a situation where that's just not ideal. So there's gonna be a lot of discarding and tough discard choices. Can you have negative hand size? No. So if your hand size is less than 0, you will lose the game at the end of your turn. That is the rule for negative hand size. You will lose the game at the end of your turn. So you can have negative hand size during your turn, and you can still win during your turn, but at the end of the turn, you will lose if you end your turn with negative hand size. If you're on the corpse turn, actually, what is the rule for that? I don't know. I think you lose even if it's the end of the corpse turn and you also have negative hand size. So if it's like, so you did something like you have 0 hand size and then you popped Stone Ship, and then your opponent plays Hypoxia and they do a core damage, do I lose at the end of the corpse turn or the end of the runner's turn? Joe says end of runner turn, I believe. I should probably check that. It'll take me a little bit to find the answer to that, so maybe if somebody else can. I think it triggers at runner turn, as that is when you discard. It's in the discard phase. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Okay, so the loss is associated to your discard phase. So when you discard and you discard to a negative number of cards, that's when you lose. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Which card is my favorite? Okay. So, which card is my favorite? Okay. In terms of card text, I think it is Mr. Hendrick. In terms of what the card does, it's a 0/2, it's 3 influence. When you access the upgrade while it's installed, you pay 2, deal core damage, lose any clicks if they have any, lose all their clicks to prevent this damage. They can lose their clicks to prevent this damage. I think this card is my favorite because there's very interesting situations where this sets up where there's multiple cards in the remote and you want to access them in a certain order. Because Mr. Hendricks says if the runner has any clicks remaining, they may lose all of them. So if you have abilities that say lose 1 click, or if you have abilities that say lose 2 clicks, you want to access those first, but you only want to access those first to the extent that you have 1 click left afterwards, if you want to prevent the core damage from Mr. Hendrick. So let's bring up Tempest again, because Tempest makes you lose 2 clicks. So if you know that there's a Tempest in the remote, you might want to access the Tempest. You want to access the Tempest. Maybe you're going to lose the Trace 3. You're going to lose 2 clicks, but you still have 1 click left because you ran on click 1. And then you access Mr. Hendrick. But alternatively, if you only have 2 clicks remaining, then you might want to, I guess Tempest gives you a choice, so that point is moot. But if you have other cards like Ikawa Project, you want to steal Ikawa Project before you access Mr. Hendrick, or you want to steal the non-Ikawa agenda so that you can lose a click to Thule, and then you access Mr. Hendrick, so then you can lose your remaining clicks to Mr. Hendrick. So there's very interesting access orders that this sets up. 2 Hendricks lends a core guaranteed if you got 4 credits. Yeah, that's very good. Do I think tracing is worth importing anywhere? It's tough, because tracing requires corps to have more money than the runners in most cases. And runner economy is just quite good, so you really have to build your deck around winning traces, or build your deck around some way that forces the runner to spend their money. So that's why asset decks play hard-hitting news, is because asset decks force runners, or at least attempt to force runners, to trash their stuff. And hard-hitting news is to some extent less effective in a glacier deck, because a glacier deck is trying to set up ice and the runner spends money by breaking ice. And you have to actively put things in the remote and threaten agenda scores and do something other than install your ice to make the runner spend their money. But in asset decks, you install your assets, and that on its own is what's making runners spend money. So that's why hard-hitting news fits in asset decks quite well. Yeah, you really have to have something like that really makes the runner not have a ton of money, because I think right now runners just can make money better than corps. I don't think there's a paid ability window during or after the breach for Ryan to fire. No, there is not. Is Ryan Knight even legal? Is it legal? Oh, it's ON. Chrome City. Oh, it is. Or, oh, no, it's not. No, it's not. Oh, yeah. Okay, so here's all the core damage cards. Here's every single one that's standard legal right now. And I did check this. If you search core damage on NetRunnerDB, all the ones that say brain damage also come up. So kudos to whoever does NetRunnerDB and added that in. But currently there's 16. These are only the corp cards. These are all the corp cards that are standard legal that do core damage. So we've got Cerebral Overrider. We've got Fairchild 2 and 3 and Fairchild Prime. We've got Hakarl. We have Kamali. Kill Switch is not legal. Kuinda. This I think this maybe Kuinda sees play. And here's a trace card. This does just go up. I have a feeling it's probably better to just put a Jupestad grid in your remote and score agendas. But for some reason, if you don't have a ton of agendas and you want to sit on Kuinda, it is a source of core damage. The other ones are probably more reliable, and they don't necessarily work together that well. We have Next Wave 2. This could be the rest of the agenda suite. We could play Next Wave 2 and then try to res a Next Diamond, because that's the only legal Next Ice. Right? I don't think the other Next Ice is legal. Next Bronze is not legal. Next Silver is not legal. So we have Next Wave 2, we have Next Sapphire, we have Next Opal, and Next Diamond. And yeah, that's all the Next Ice we have. So, I don't know, maybe you play Architect Deployment Test, try to get a Next Ice res and play Next Wave 2. Next Wave 2 does just do a core damage when you score. So Score this, deal a core damage. Jupe side grid, deal a core damage. Sounds terrible, but a lot of fun. That's right. Lat's coming through in a bad. Yeah, this is kind of sad for Lat. That's very true. And sad. Lat's a good ID. So that is quite sad. Ride Suppression's a good card. Like I think Ride Suppression is just good. You play only if the runner trashed corp cards during the last turn. You have Rashida's, Spin Doctors, what have you. Jupe side grid, Hendrik. The runner may suffer a core damage, or if they do not, they get -3 allotted clicks for their next turn. Yeah, I think this is just great. Like this, you should probably play 3 copies of this in the core damage dual deck, and you play this at every opportunity you get, and you play it click 1, and they either suffer a core damage. And in the past, runners would usually be like, okay, there's not like a single hugely important card in my hand, so I'm going to suffer a core damage because I don't want you to have shenanigans with me only having 1 click on my next turn. Because if you play this click 1 and they lose lose 3 clicks, they only have 1 click, which means if you play Ride Suppression and then you go install advance, they have to run your remote, and then you just have like border control, or like they can't steal a Kawa project, I guess was the issue of the past. But now this just works with duel. So you just play Ride Suppression, and if they want to run your remote and they want to steal an agenda, they have to take a core damage. There's no way around that unless they have something like Beth or something that gives them clicks. And if they do, you probably have warning. The only way you don't have warning is if they play Running Hot, which does a core damage. So I guess they got a core damage either way. So yeah, if you're Thule and you play Ride Suppression, and then you go install Advance and Agenda, and you've got a Jupe stat grid in there, the runner's just taking a core damage. No real way around that. So Ride Suppression's a good card. Zed is bad. Wetwork Refit is bad. Tempest is... I feel like Tempest will be like the 51st card, because the ability isn't super amazing, and this is not like a game-breaking ability, or it's not like a really important ability for this archetype, just because, again, the ability is just not that amazing. It's a trace 3. If you win the trace, lose 2 clicks, suffer core damage. I imagine it'll still be played, but I think if you're cutting slots and you need more slots, you'll probably cut the Tempest. And then, we got good old Tyr. It'll be interesting to see how much Big Ice we play, because Tyr's good, but we're still going to get Botulist, and we're still going to get Hippoed, and we're still going to get Boated. So, I mean, we can still play Next Activation Command in this deck, right? Looking for the absolute duel versus Essa Clown Fiestas. Yeah. Okay, I did want to mention this. So, one thing that I've always wanted to do in Netrunner is to build a Corp and a Runner deck that's just like specifically there to play against each other. Because usually when you're playing Netrunner, you build a deck and you're like, how does this deck perform across the field, right? But I feel like it'd be very fun if you're just like, if you and a friend are just here to enjoy some games of Netrunner, I feel like it'd be really fun to basically have one player play Thule and the other player playing Essa, and you build your decks with the knowledge that your other opponent is playing that ID. So we're going to build a bunch of core damage into our Thule deck, and the S is going to put a bunch of hand size and like also self-core damage into their deck, but also the Corp is going to play recursion cards. And I feel like that could be a very fun game. Another example of this, and again, this is something that I always wanted to do and find time for, is to play Nisei Division against Akiko. And again, it's not just play the matchup. It's build the deck and then play the matchup with the knowledge that your opponent is playing that ID. So, and this is like during the time where you have government investigations. That's the runner current where, let me just pull it up. That's the runner current that says, while secretly spending credits, players cannot spend 2. So it's a current that turns side games into a 0 or 1. So you could call it 50-50. Some people might argue it's not. But yeah, like it's like, this just seems really fun. So yeah, you can do something like that with Thule and Essa. Yeah, though that is the 5 cards. I don't have anything about wave, or not wave, about harmonic ice. So I heard that there's still 2 more cards in HB. So maybe we'll see some harmonic ice, and that will be the cards that we will find in the Parhelion pack when we get it. Decks to play against each other. You could do the same with Tag Me and R Plus as long as you don't include Market Forces. Yeah, yeah. Market Forces is a little bit of a little bit too powerful in that matchup. But yeah, that's true. I don't know. Like tags have like some very powerful effects though. So you play like exchange of information. Um, there's some pretty busted stuff you could do if you know your opponent is playing Tag Me that the runner can't really do anything about. I would love some well-designed startup decks. It's quite the match in Reboot with Kiko, yeah. Oh wait, what does Reboot have different text in? Does a Kiko have different text in Reboot? Is that what Reboot is? No, Reboot is the format where you add packs over time, right? I don't know which format Reboot is. Okay, gone through all these. I really do think that this could be an archetype that comes up. It seems cool. Oh, I didn't finish saying Mr. Hendrick is probably my favorite card based off card text, but we can't beat this. Look at this art. I think based off card text, I think Distributed Tracing is probably my least favorite card. Just because like it only works with Hypoxia and we're using it to trash Caldera, but like maybe we'll see more tag stuff come in from HB in the future. But this art is amazing. We got to get playmats of this like ASAP. It's so good. Reboot is the rebalance. Yeah. The sign being electronic. Do you think distributed tracing is worth importing? Oh. Uh I don't think so. There isn't anything right now that just blows out the runner or has the potential of blowing out the runner if they have one tag. Uh like the best single tag punishment that's standard legal right now is retribution. And I think retribution's one influence. So actually, yeah, I'm fairly certain retribution's one influence. So we'd rather just play retribution in HB. So maybe we'll play retribution in HB. It's only one influence. But I don't know if we would port distributing tracing into Wayland so that we could play retribution. It doesn't seem like that important of a card. As in retribution doesn't seem like that important of a card. We can't really build a deck that goes like, hey, I'm going to win the game if I can play retribution. You could do that in the past. All-Seeing Eye is still legal. Yeah, you could play All-Seeing Eye. That's fair. Like, All-Seeing Eye is probably a very close second. All-Seeing Eye and Retribution being like the best single tag punishment. But also, like, All-Seeing Eye is also not that card. Is not the card where it's like, if I play this, I'm going to win the game. Exchange of Information is a card that you can be like, if I play this, I'm going to win the game. And the difference between the situation with EOI and the situation with All-Seeing Eye is that All-Seeing Eye, you could play All-Seeing Eye and instantly win the game if the runner has installed a bunch of a bunch of resources and they're just really reliant on resources. But the corp is the one that sets up the situation with exchange, right? I can score my 15 minutes, I can feed you the Global Food Initiative, and then I can swap it and shuffle back my 15. It's more within the corp's hands. That's why that EOI is so much better than All-Seeing Eye, just looking at it based off of the power of that card on its own. Yeah, so I don't know if you would port Disputed Tracing. It's 4-hole influence, and it costs you 2 clicks, 3 credits, and the runner has to stolen agenda during last turn. Lots and lots of conditions. No free lunch and a lot of top tier runner decks right now too. Yeah, that's a good point. Like that probably hurts this quite a bit. So yeah, you spend 2 clicks, spend $3, and they just pop their no free lunch. Feels really bad. So yeah, it is a little bit of a disappointment that we can just basically take a reg Crim deck and play no free lunch and then play Caldera and we'd be like, I'm gonna install my Caldera, and we're gonna play No Free Lunch, and then you can't trash my Caldera. So yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure what we might do about that. Like maybe if it comes to it, we can play stuff like Sadaka. So we can use Sadaka as an unconditional. The runner doesn't need to have a tag. Trash their resource. Let's trash their Caldera this way. That could be a very reasonable include, I think, in this type of deck, because I feel like Caldera is such an easy answer in terms of easy to use and also easy to just throw into your deck if you're playing Crim. It's also one influence, so we might have to start playing some Sadakas. Draco doing some meta warping, yeah. Draco is distributed tracing into back room. Yes, okay. I did think about this, and I'll talk about this briefly. So this is something that we could do. Backroom Machinations is 2 influence, so we could play an HB deck, and our finisher is tracing, is distributed tracing into Backroom Machinations, and we get our 7th point, which kind of means that we're playing, like, the reason we want a fake point is because we're probably playing 5/3s, which kind of pushes us away from Thule, because Thule's a 45-15. So maybe we can play some kind of 40 card ID, and we just play like 6 5/3s, and we have distributed tracing and backroom machinations, and that could be a deck. But the issue with that is that we only have 6 5/3s, so the runner has to steal 3 times, or they steal twice with a mad dash. But we can only play distributed tracing the turn after the runner stole an agenda, and if we only have 6 agendas in our deck, the runner's not going to be stealing all that much, which makes distributing tracing a little hard to play. And also, if we're playing 6 5/3s, we probably wouldn't be playing Thule. So, little bit of anti-synergy there with Thule. Maybe we'll play this in a... Yeah, like the only 40-15 HP deck is PD. So maybe we play it in PD. That seems... Like, PD is also an ability that triggers off of when an agenda is scored, and we're only going to score twice. So that doesn't seem great either. But like, maybe we play a core damage deck, we play distributed tracing, we play epoxy, we play all this stuff, and we just throw backroom machinations in there, and we just play our agenda suite. Like, we play our ontological dependence, we play our bifurcation, we play our luminal, and we play our Ikawa projects. And maybe that backroom point gets us there sometimes, and maybe sometimes it's irrelevant. That seems bad. But it could be a thing. ScapeNet to solve Caldera issue. Oh. I forgot that's a card. We could play ScapeNet. This could be it. Play only if the runner makes a successful run during the last turn. You trace 7 and you RFG the Caldera. That seems good. That seems like an include. Just because trashing with distributed tracing requires a tag to stick and no free lunch to not be on the board. So yeah, maybe we play ScapeNet. This begs the question of, if I play ScapeNet, am I still going to play distributed tracing and hypoxia? And honestly, if I were to answer that question right now, and you're basically like, you need to play a Thule deck, and you need to play a core damage focused Thule deck, and there's a tournament tomorrow, and you don't have any time to play test, build the deck, I would probably not put this in. If I'm just concerned about, like, make the best deck you can. I think my instinct is that this is probably, it's a 2-card combo, it costs you your whole turn, and it probably decreases the consistency of the deck a little bit too much, and I wouldn't put it in. However, I think at the outset I would definitely try it, and you could easily try it and be proven wrong. But yeah, I'd be interested to see what that's like and how the development of Thule goes, because I feel like these cards are just on the edge of playable, but it just needs a little bit more to make it there. Backroom doesn't seem bad distributed tracing if you're running a 2-point suite. That's fair. I mean, you probably play Bifurcation and you probably play Ikawa Project, though. Just because Ikawa is such a good protection. Like, Ikawa and Thule seems good. Seems good. Yeah. Thoughts on Cerebral Overrider? Uh, it does core damage. So your instinct is to put it in. I feel like you can probably build a deck that you can probably build a deck that makes your remote safe enough to the extent that you don't need a bluff like Cerebral Overrider. Because I imagine you probably want NGO fronts. Because basically it's like you're going to double advance this. You can deal 2 core damage, but that will have cost you 5 credits. Or you can get money off NGO front. And I feel like you'll probably need the money from NGO front just for your deck to function. So I feel like Overrider kind of suffers the same way that Tempest does, is that we only have a limited number of deck slots. And I don't know if Tempest or Overrider makes the cut. Also, keep in mind that we do have Nightmare Archive. And Nightmare Archive is a trap. So I feel like this is like a very good midpoint between the commitment that Overrider requires and the trap purpose that it serves. So I feel like I would definitely play 3 copies of Nightmare Archive. And after that, you probably don't play Overrider, because then you have too many traps in your deck. And yeah, you just play Nightmare Archive. If the runner accesses it out of any central, great. Because you just want the runner to access this. And if it looks like the runner might run your remote, you can just slam this in the remote. And if it doesn't work, you can just override it with an agenda, and now it's protecting archives. So this card seems really, really good. And yeah, as I said, probably play 3 of these. And you probably play Seamless Launch, because you can advance out like 4/2s without having to pre-advance them, which means that installing a card in the remote without advancing is a threat. So it could be Nightmare Archive. It could be Mr. Hendrick. It might be an unres Jupestad grid. And you're kind of doing what PD does. It could be Mangarm Skunkworks. Like, Skunkworks is a thing too, right? Most times people will run into a Skunkworks and they will plan their turn so that they spend 2 clicks. But they can't spend 2 clicks because they're going to run into Ikawa Project or Mr. Hendrick, or their Thule's going to trigger. Maybe they only have 1 click because you played Riot Suppression. Like, I don't think Overrider's going to make the cut, because there's so many cards here that I want as 3-ofs. So Nightmare Archive, Hendrick, maybe you play 2 Jupestad grids, 3 Riot Suppressions. I think you do play 3 Riot Suppressions. This card is quite good. You probably want to play MCA, and basically you've already put way too many cards in your deck that don't make you money, draw you cards, or are ice. Because a deck can only have so many cards that are not econ, ice, or like general tempo cards. Yeah, so we're gonna have some deck slot issues right away, I feel. Nightmare Archive feels like it has place in Sports Metal too. Yeah, it might be more of a waste of a deck slot. Yeah, it might be more of a waste of a deck slot than it is worth in Sports Metal. Because the runner taking a core damage, like the runner losing a point is huge, but I don't think people are going to lose a point. They're just going to take a core damage. And if your deck is not built around like dealing a lot of core damage, then it probably doesn't matter that much. How many negative agendas can a runner obtain in Eternal now? That's such a good question. I love that. Find out the answer, put it in an Eternal deck, and I would like to see what the record is for the most credits gained in 1 click with stock buyback. GQ News Team Nightmare Archives. News team has hypoxia synergy. That's fair. That's fair. We could honestly we could port news team in here. That seems really annoying. You play hypoxia. You play news team. That seems annoying. A lot of things that we want to spend 2 influence on. Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna call my stream there. We've gone for almost an hour. I believe Ysengrin has his stream go on. I think in half an hour. So that might be wrong. That might be wrong. But I remember him hearing that it's gonna go on an hour and a half after my stream. So I think it's in half an hour. But at any rate, he's doing a stream at some point today, doing a recap of all this. Thank you all for joining me. Yeah, this is a ton of fun. I want to reiterate my just we need a playmat of this art. Like it's so good. We got a playmat of Blood in the Water, and that was the thumbnail for my review for my spoiler stream for Midnight Sun. And yeah, like the next playmat we make, this one. It's so good. You sang it in half an hour. Yeah, great. Perfect. Yeah, thanks everybody for joining. This was lots of fun. Look forward to seeing all the other cards that are being spoiled. And yeah, I look forward to playing in the new meta. All right. Thank you, everybody. I will see you all later.